All right. So thanks everybody for attending this webinar this morning. I'm Patrick Finucane, CEM Advisory, and it's a pleasure to introduce John Passalacqua, CEO of First Phosphate. Topic this morning, as most of you are aware, is an update on recent significant events in the company. And I'll turn it over to John in just one second, but we'll have an opportunity for questions at the end. You'll see a little Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. You can enter your questions in there, and at the end of the webinar, we'll have a few minutes to take some questions. And with that said, John, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Patrick. Okay, welcome everybody. I'm going to share my screen. I've got a little presentation here to show. Okay, is that good? Everyone sees my screen?
Yes.
Yeah, before we get started, I just wanted to acknowledge, Peter Kent, who's on the line as well, has retired from the company. He's the ex-president. Peter had his beautiful 80th birthday this year, and Peter remains as our senior advisor for the company. So thank you, Peter. And also Gary Siskos, who was our COO and CFO, who came in and organized us wonderfully, is on the call as well. And now he's moved back into private practice and will be helping us with our larger capital raises moving forward in the distant future, now that he's got the full spectrum of us from the inside and the outside. Okay, so thank you to everybody for coming. I wanted to go back over some of our news over the last 5 to 6 months. I'll take about 20 minutes to do so, and then we'll get into some questions and answers. So, first off, on May 30th of 2023, we put out a full corporate update. If you go onto the website and you click on news and you go through the news, you can see this. And that's where we laid out all of the objectives for the company for 2023. I won't get into them all one by one, but I'm happy to say that, we fulfilled them all. We fulfilled them all on time and even ahead of schedule. There's a couple little things left to do. And I'll be going through all of that today in terms of, what we've done, where we stand, and what some of the next steps are. Okay. So on July 26th, we announced the preliminary economic assessment, PEA, that was completed at La Colonial. This was one of our major tasks. This was, why the company was founded. We purchased the claims at La Colonial. We quickly moved the deposit into a 43-101 state. We determined a deposit of up to, 49 million tons of phosphate with secondary recoveries of titanium and iron. And now we've moved the property into PEA together with A&E Engineering, who are the engineers who did the 43-101 and the PEA, and did a wonderful job. They've worked on many of these projects in the past. So we showed a net present value of $800 million and an internal rate of return of 22%, which is very good for an industrial mineral type of complex. Now, to give you a little bit of a history on La Colonial is found at 140 kilometers from the deep sea port of Saguenay. To access it, there's forestry roads that are open 4 seasons round, and you would go down these roads, which are they're gravel, they're open, they're plowed all year round, and then you hit the main highway, come across here, cross the Saguenay, and end up at the port of Saguenay. It's about a three-hour truck drive. So this is the main property. This is where the PEA was done. At the same time this year, we also announced other news as well on our exploration program. We also announced Bégin-La-Marche. We did a 4,200 meter drill program there. We found exceptional phosphate. This property is at 70 kilometers from the deep sea port of Saguenay. It's right near, but not too close to 2 towns that were ex-forestry towns and are in need of revitalization and are very favorable towards the development. And also we've located, much higher grades of phosphate than we ever thought. And it looks like the deposit could be as large as and likely much larger than La Colonial. Of course, we're not in 43-101, so we cannot speculate, but, we hope to do some further drilling at this property. And we're very excited also because it's on paved highway and it's also right near 3-phase hydro. We also did a little bit more of surface sampling this year. Like we said, we would do at many of these properties here. We did it at Perron, Alex, Brochet. We did it all in this area. This area here, we found that, there is phosphate, but we just found it's, the grading is not bad. But we found phosphate, at much higher grade here at obviously La Colonial, Bégin-La-Marche, La Ruche. These areas too also had decent phosphate, but what we found at La Ruche was spectacular as well. LaRouche sits on the south side of the Saguenay, and it's only 45 kilometers from the deep sea port of Saguenay. So through the surface sampling and also the drilling that was done this summer, we do believe that the company's three main properties are going to become these three right here. Lac L'Orignal, which is already in PEA and has good logistics and a good NPV on it. Bégin-La-Marche, which seems to be, spectacular from the standpoint of based on Lac L'Orignal and what it has, it could only be much larger discovery, and a discovery that is closer to infrastructure and is closer to workforce. LaRouche obviously would be spectacular. It sits in an area just south of the Saguenay, an area that's half municipal, half private lots. So we have to investigate whether it would even be possible to do further investigation and to develop this as a mine. But we really do think that the mine is going to occur either at Bégin-La-Marche or Lac L'Orignal, and that's what we're going to be focusing on here in 2024. To give you an example here of what we found at Bégin-La-Marche, there's 4 lenses of phosphate, very high grade in this area. We hit up to 8%. We're also very excited to go into this area here. It looks like it only gets higher as you approach this area here. Lots of smaller areas of magnetic resonance in this area, which all could be phosphate. And we think we've identified, this one, almost 2 kilometer strike. It has shown, decent levels of phosphate between 5 and 6%. And we believe there might be another lens in here. So this could be really, spectacular and monumental for the company. Again, we're very cautious. We're not in 43-101 yet, but that's where we're heading with it. Okay, and then also I just wanted to acknowledge, all our drilling was done together with the First Nations drilling from the First Nations community of Mastoyache, and we've used Laurentia Exploration as our geological firm. Okay, the next thing is really important here is we did our solventless, environmentally friendly phosphate concentration pilot plant. Now, why is this important is because, once you've extracted the mineral from the ground, you want to make sure that you're economic. What was really important was the fact that we were able to extract up to 41% pure phosphate, with the theoretical max being 42%. That's inside of a mineral called apatite. Our apatite gets to about 97%. That's probably one of the world's highest concentrations of phosphate ever produced. And also we were able to do that at 91% recovery, which is exceptional. So this proves, the viability of the mine. With the advanced mineralogy done at Queen's University and the pilot plant done at SGS, this is a really big breakthrough. And it allowed us to send a 900 kilogram sample of this exceptional phosphate concentrated to prey on our partners in Belgium for the purification to merchant grade phosphoric acid and eventually to purified phosphoric acid. So what I'd like to do here is I'm just going to share, and I just want to show this video of what we've been able to accomplish here. Can everybody see my screen? Can you see my screen here? Do you see the pilot plant, everybody? Can I just get a nod from somebody?
Yes.
Okay, great. So I'm just going to play this, and as it's playing, I'm just going to explain a little bit what we're seeing. Because this is exceptional for a company of our size to already be at this level. So this is where, rock ore would be entering the pilot plant. And then it's further crushed. It's made very fine. It looks like a kitty litter, I know. And then eventually it's slurried. It's added to water. It's made very fine. Now here is the grinding process. Now the first thing we need to do is we need to pull out the iron, which is the magnetite. So as you'll see, this first process pulls out the iron. This is with low intensity magnetics. And you'll see this right here in 1 second as the iron comes out. See, that's the iron right there coming out. So that's magnetite, Fe2O3. So that's our first recovery. Now here's where the titanium comes out. This has got lower magnetics, so this is pulled out with higher magnetics. And this is the ilmenite, also known as titanium, at about 39%. The iron was at about 99% Fe2O3, which is about 69% Fe. So now with what remains, what they're doing is they emulsify it. They add it to some just regular kitchen starch. It's all natural ingredients. And what that does is it floats the apatite. Again, apatite is the host mineral in which the phosphate is found. The phosphate is inside, it's bound to the apatite, and then it needs to be broken with sulfuric acid. But what they're doing right now is they're floating the apatite, getting it to the top. They skim it off the top. And like I said, we recover 91.4% of it, which is, very high by most mining standards. So it goes through a number of processes, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There you see it. That's the apatite that's being skimmed off the top. These are all mining processes that are known to the mining industry. The way we use them, the way we put them together has IP to it. But in general, we went with processes that were already out there that have been used for 50 to 100 years. We want to have, a good track record. We don't want to have technology risk. So what happens here? This is great. This is the final phosphate concentrate apatite. This is a 97% pure apatite. Like I said, for about 40 to 41% pure phosphate, and it's wet. What we have to do next is we have to dry it. And that's its final form. That's the way it would go into a phosphoric acid plant to make merchant grade phosphoric acid and eventually purified phosphoric acid. So that's our recovery of apatite. This is our recovery of ilmenite, titanium, that's dried as well, and that has a resale value as well on the market. And then the next, you'll see the iron, like we talked about earlier. That also has a resale market, Okay, and so this is Prayon's facility in Belgium. What we did with the 900 kilograms of apatite, phosphate concentrate that we created through the pilot plant, we sent it off to Belgium. And in Belgium, this is where their main facility is. They have test facilities as well, and they tested the apatite and to turn it into merchant grade phosphoric acid. So I'll go back to where we were before on my last screen here. Okay. Does everybody see my screen again? Am I back onto the PDF? Yes, good.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. I just checked because you never know. Okay, so September 6th, after we did the pilot plant and sent the sample to Prayon, Prayon came back to us. They had done the tests on the phosphate concentrate. They turned it into merchant grade phosphoric acid. That's generally the first purification of phosphate. And at that point, it's relatively clean enough for fertilizer and for animal feed. But to go to battery and food grade, it needs to go higher. So what came out of this merchant grade phosphoric acid? Well, the results were spectacular. You can read about this on our website as well on the press release. I mean, it passed every single category. It's rare for a phosphate rock in the world to pass on every single category because, everyone has, benefits and disadvantages, right? Especially when you're dealing with sedimentary deposits. But because we're sitting in igneous deposit and we know that we have the cleanest igneous deposits in the world, igneous anorthosites in Quebec, we passed with flying colors. We went through this entire process, and you can see here where Prayon distills it, they float it, they do a number of steps to it, obviously a lot of it proprietary, and they create merchant grade phosphoric acid. Down here, you'll see the process where they got to the merchant grade phosphoric acid. But most important was this, the gypsum. When you break the bond of the apatite to liberate the phosphate, you need to add sulfuric acid. And the sulfuric acid will then bind with the calcium and will create the gypsum. In sedimentary deposits or other deposits in the world that are less pure than this igneous anorthosite that we use here, you'll get radioactive gypsum slag that comes out of it. And with the radioactive gypsum slag, this gypsum has to stay inert in the atmosphere and just cannot be moved. There's like 80 to 100 of these big gypsum slag piles in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Florida, and they're a big issue. But the purity of this gypsum, what it means is that this can be recycled into plaster for making wallboard and for making homes. So this is really important because this is really the future horizon of phosphate is the recyclability. Many of these phosphate mines in the sedimentary world have a lot of problems on the environmental side. We won't have that. We'll have full recyclability. So that was very, very important. Now, the next step is for Prayon to take this and to make from merchant grade phosphoric acid, purified phosphoric acid. And there's two methods to do it. One is their way that they use with solvents, and another one is a solventless way. And they're going to do it through both methods so that when we do go to build the technology at Port of Saguenay to make purified phosphoric acid, we'll have the choice between both methods. Now, what we've been told is that when a merchant grade phosphoric acid is so pure as this one is, it should be no problem to move it up to purified phosphoric acid. However, we're still waiting for those tests. Those tests are imminent. We signaled to the market that would be by Q4 of this year. We hope to bring that in a little bit earlier, but that's another major milestone for this company to reach. Merchant grade phosphoric acid was one, but I think we really need to see purified phosphoric acid and what that looks like. We're very excited. We assume it's going to be very good results based on what we're seeing on the MGA. Okay. Now, PPA, purified phosphoric acid, this is the objective. This is where we want to go. This is where there's going to be a massive shortage. This is a CRU group, very conservative group. They're saying that purified phosphoric acid in the world, to 2045 is going to be this blue line of supply, not much supply, but demand is going to be just in traditional uses. The dark blue is going to be even higher. And they're predicting that LFP battery is going to, need to double and then some by 2045. Again, they're very conservative. We like them very much. I personally do believe, like our internal research says, that this line is going to be like this. So the holy grail is going to be purified phosphoric acid. There's not enough of it in the world. There's not enough of it in North America. And there isn't the purification capacity to get to it. So what's really important with the test that we've done with Crayon, especially when it comes back, when our purified phosphoric acid test comes back, that means that we've got a rock, an igneous rock that is, amongst the purest in the world that can make a lot of purified phosphoric acid. 90% of this feedstock can be converted into purified phosphoric acid for LFP battery, which is going to be in massive shortage. And that's the holy grail of our company. That's where we think that the massive lift is going to be. We think PPA is going to go like a hockey stick, just like lithium did, because obviously you're going to need it for batteries. Okay. Now, our next piece of news that came out a few weeks ago was, First Phosphate, an American battery factory, signed an MOU to onshore 40,000 tons of annual LFP cathode active materials in North America. That's in gigawatt hours. That would be so 20 gigawatt hours. What does this mean? So American Battery Factory is a company in the United States. They're out of Utah. The first gigafactory will be in Arizona. What I really like about American Battery Factory, and I really respect, is number one, they're committed to an entire battery supply chain in North America, no cheating, 100%. Number two, they're committed to working for civilian and for military use. There's a lot of U.S. military talent at the company as well. I really like that. And number three, they've actually done something very smart. They've gone and they've sourced the raw materials ahead of doing anything else. Many of the gigafactories, are, and again, I don't want to criticize, but are busy, with a tops down strategy. The strategy from ABF seems to be a bottoms up. Let's locate the raw materials. Let's do a deal with First Phosphate, because we know that eventually we'll be able to get to purified phosphoric acid, iron sulfate, or another source of iron to make LFP battery. The other thing is one of the owners or partners of ABF already imports, almost $100 million of batteries for homes, LFP batteries from China. So the onshoring is something that's real. There's product already out there that's being sold that can be converted over, and I really like that, because a lot of gigafactories out there, and again, not to criticize, there might be a concept around the product, but there isn't any product yet. Here, there's actually product to convert. And it's in the stationary energy storage sector, which is, the easier form of LFP, in my opinion, because you start getting into automotive, you've got, acceleration, deceleration to deal with, you've got mobility. So, starting the stationary energy storage with us in American Battery Factory, we're looking forward to a very big relationship with them, one that's going to grow over time. And again, some people ask me, well, what does this mean? What is the potential on this? Well, 40,000 tons of LFP cathode active material is probably worth about $500 million to $1 billion per annum. And this is only on the first gigafactory that ABF wants to produce. So there's a big potential there for all of us. Obviously, we're not looking at the dollar signs in the future. We're looking at doing things right, putting one foot in front of the other. But basically, we're very happy with the relationship with ABF and where it's going. Okay, the next one that a lot of people have been asking about is, I think last Friday it was, First Phosphate received a letter of interest from the Export-Import Bank of the United States in the amount of $170 million. So first off, who is the Export-Import Bank of the United States? So they're an executive branch of the U.S. government. They're there almost as a lender of last resort, and they're there as a lender to, help American exports where it might not be possible to get outside capital. They're a patient lender. They're a sovereign. They're backed by the credit of the U.S. government. And what I really like about EXIM Bank is now they're starting to tie a lot of their loans into critical minerals and supporting strategies in the U.S. around critical minerals. So obviously, we spent a lot of time with Exim, excellent folks over there. They really took the time with us, and I was just really impressed with the amount of due diligence that they did. And they see phosphate as a real necessary critical mineral in the United States, whether it's on the critical mineral list or not. I think also we recognize that in the Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean area of Quebec, there's been a great U.S.-Canadian cooperation for almost 100 years with the aluminum battery valley that's there, which was Alcan and now is Rio Tinto. So to extend that to the LFP battery valley and create an LFP battery valley for North America is something that really resonated in the relationship. So again, it's a letter of interest. There is still a ways to go before we finalize with Exim. We have a very good relationship. We're working very closely. The loan would be for products that come from the United States, products and services. From our understanding, we should be able to start drawing on that, fairly soon for any of our expenses to put the mine into production, the purified phosphoric acid plant, and the LFP cathode active material plant at some point. And we hope that Exim will be there for us in the future as we continue to develop. We also have very good indications from the Quebec government. Quebec government made the introduction for us to Exim Bank, and they're currently reviewing the file. And I feel that this is just a start now that Exim is on board of major institutional backing coming into the company. So thank you to the U.S. government and thank you to Exim. Okay, I'm just going to go through some next steps for 2024, and then what I'll do is I'll open up the field to some questions. I see I'm already 5 minutes over. That's not bad. I usually tend to be much more verbose. So our next steps are, like I was saying earlier, the production of purified phosphoric acid in test sample with Prayon. We hope to be receiving those results fairly shortly. We're telegraphing Q4, maybe a little bit earlier, just like everything else we've done a little bit earlier. We want to do some advanced exploration at Bégin-La-Marche in the LaRouche area before we actually lock down on an area where the mine will be formed. We just want to make sure that we're going into the area with the best economics. We're going to be starting environmental studies. We've already started our desktop environmental studies. They'll be performed at Bégin-La-Marche, Lac-Colorignal, potentially LaRouche, but definitely Bégin-La-Marche and Lac-Colorignal. And we've also begun our internal pre-feasibility work to assess the location where the mine will go to then move into a feasibility study. We're very fortunate. We've got the CMAX, which is it's a group of municipalities in the area that bind together and help companies to see through projects. I think they've only done this with 2 or 3 other projects. We've been given major project status in the area of Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean at a regional level. That's very important. It really bodes well for all the other relationships on the Quebec level. So we're very happy to be working with CMAX on the internal pre-feasibility study. They said they'll sit down, they'll become part of our project team. Make sure that everything on the ground is going well, that we're taking care of any of the local situations that we might not see. So that's very important nowadays. You've got to be very close to the communities that you're working in. We also have the group Nuchi-Nipur, which is doing our environmental studies. It's also part of the Mustayash indigenous group in the area. And we're quite lucky we've got Crawler at the table. It's a division of Transforce. It was purchased by Transforce, Quebec transportation and logistics company. And they'll be helping us to work on the logistics. They work on a lot of the logistics in the James Bay area for the lithium companies as well. So that's very strategic for us. And we've got the Port of Saguenay. We've got an MOU in place. And Quebec government just put $105 million into the Port of Saguenay for expanding that port and making it the second battery valley of Quebec. This is something really important for everybody to understand. Bécancour in Quebec is the battery valley of Quebec and one of the largest battery valleys in North America, but it is full. So now Port of Saguenay is looking to be the second best fit. It has 3,000 acres of open industrial land. Like, you don't find that footprint anywhere in the Western world. And the fact that the Quebec government's put money in there, and First Phosphate is sitting there with the ingredients for LFP at the center of it, I would say that Bécancour might be the nickel manganese cobalt battery valley of North America or of Quebec. And let's look to Port of Saguenay, Saguenay Valley becoming the LFP battery valley of North America. We've been saying it for a long time, and every day our vision just gets clearer and clearer. Also, we have AgriNova, which is a local-based group in the area that's helping us with our secondary recoveries. To get to byproducts that can be recycled in the area so that we keep our environmental footprint very low. So we're working on our secondary recoveries of the iron, the titanium, the iron sulfate, the gypsum, as we said, that's very clean. and also, working on the tailings in cement industry potentially. We're also working on a plan for advanced integration of our materials, such as phosphate and the iron sulfate, into the production of battery cells that will work together with American Battery Factory and Integrals Power. And we're beginning site plan for the PPA facility, the purified phosphoric acid facility. And I missed it in the earlier slide, but we also just put into place an MOU with a division of Glencore, Norfalco, for the provision of sulfuric acid. One of the main ingredients that goes into making purified phosphoric acid is sulfuric acid. And without sulfuric acid, you can't even get started. It actually takes 1.2 times the amount of sulfuric acid that it does phosphate concentrate to make purified phosphoric acid. So with that agreement in place now, Norfalco, Glencore, North America's largest player in sulfuric acid, we now have the ability to, much more of an ability to manage sulfuric acid at the Port of Saguenay and to make this project a reality. Also, we're going to begin, our study for the PPA facility at the Port of Saguenay, and we're going to be looking at the potential for LFP facility at the Port of Saguenay or somewhere in North America, and that will only be together with major partnership. And the other thing we're working on, we're working on expanding our current partnerships, and there's a lot of new and existing partnerships. This was all in our May 30th corporate update, and we look forward to keeping you apprised. So I think that's it for me now. I think maybe I'll pass it on to Patrick. Maybe Patrick, you can field some of the questions and we can go from there.
Great, John. Can you hear me all right?
Absolutely.
Great. So excellent presentation. So thank you for that. There are, I'm going to try and summarize a couple of questions here because they're around the export-import bank relationship. And it had to do with the timing of that, the steps to unlock the funding, and what the requirements are from First Phosphate to kind of get that whole ball rolling. So maybe if you could just expand on that a little bit, that would answer a couple of the questions that people have sent to us.
Yeah, I know. I get all kinds of questions on that all the time. So, basically, we received the letter of interest about a week ago. We have spoken with XM Bank since then. The next step is they're going to assign somebody to our file, and then we're going to go through the rest of the process. We should be able to access fairly quickly. Obviously, I don't know all the processes, but we're going to give the good people at XM their time and the respect to get things together on their timelines as well. So yeah, we will communicate that to markets as we go along, but it's a process.
Okay, I appreciate that. This next one is again slightly more general. I'll try and summarize it. You did allude to it, but that is this idea of critical mineral designation and driving interest in First Phosphate, and how do you see that affecting interest from larger strategic investors or institutional capital?
You mean having phosphate on the critical minerals list?
Yes, that's becoming seemingly a more important geopolitical consideration. Are you beginning to see that is building interest in First Phosphate?
Yeah, so what I can say is, we were just also down at Columbia University. We were invited down a couple of weeks ago to comment on this and to comment on the IRA, and there were some of the larger companies in the space, especially in lithium. We were the only company there from the phosphate side. I think what the conclusion that everyone seems to be coming down with is that the battery industry and the inputs into the battery industry seem to move a lot quicker than the time that it takes to put these minerals, consider them, and put them on the critical minerals list. It's sort of like a catch-up process, and phosphate is definitely in a catch-up process. I mean, phosphate is a critical mineral on the EU list. It's on the Japanese list. It's on the Korean list. We're being told it's very close to be on the Quebec list, probably on the Canadian list. There's lots of lobbying going on for it on the critical mineral list from a fertilizer standpoint in the U.S. In our May 30th update, we also let the market know that we are actively lobbying for phosphate to be on the critical minerals list. But what I think I think people recognize the critical nature of phosphate with LFP battery. regardless of whether it's on a critical mineral list or not. And in fact, Ex-Im Bank has extended this letter of interest to First Phosphate, despite phosphate not being on the Canadian or the US critical minerals list. So I think there is a reasonability around understanding that, there is a little bit of a catch-up process to go and to just go off of a critical minerals list that was written, 2, 3, 4 years ago sometimes, is not the way to go. So I think investors are realizing that, you kind of got to go to where, like Wayne Gretzky used to say, where the puck's going to go, right? So that's kind of, it would certainly be a lot more beneficial for us if phosphate were on the critical minerals list, but we see the puck going that way and everyone's skating there with us. So we're comfortable.
Thank you, John. Question here regarding the second deposit that you spoke of. Could you provide an overview, how much drilling, time and cost and so forth would be required for us to get a good insight on the quality of that deposit?
Yeah, so look, I think the really important thing about phosphate, and I really like everyone to focus on this, these are surface deposits, right? You're not sitting very deep. So, and they're also big, kind of clunky, kind of humpy kind of deposits. That's just in my poor language. So once you start drilling, you know that they're there. The drilling that we did 4,200 meters has identified some major veins. And as you can see from the diagram that I showed earlier, there was, major other veins out there as well. So, in order to sort of, prove it up, or to sort of, mirror up what we already have a very good indication that's there. We could do it with probably about another 20 to 25,000 meters. That's probably no more than, $4 million of drilling. Obviously, I'm a much more thorough guy, as everybody knows. I like to go bigger, but we're going to go at the rate that we need to go. But yeah, I think with 25,000 meters of drilling at Bégin-Lamarche, I think we unlock the world-class nature of this deposit.
Great. I'm going to try and distill this question. We are running out of time, so I will just let people know that we have at the website, we do have a place that you can a link to, and maybe John, you can put it up at the end. It's questions@firstphosphate.com. So if we don't get to your question because we are running over here, please type your question in there. Let me just see if I can distill this question. So you've talked about a number of different plants and facilities. Developing a mine, a plant, relationships with Saguenay, CapEx that might be required for there, and the types of facilities that might need to be built. Could you just sort of outline what you see the steps are in terms of, here we are today, and what are the steps in terms of, building out, the deposit, the idea of pilot plant, larger facility and so forth, and ultimately into production, just in an overview kind of way. And if there's and the types of ventures that might come along the way with that.
Yeah. So what I might want to do here is I'm just gonna I want to just bring up our corporate presentation, because there's a really good slide on there that allowed me to explain this the best. Let me just see here. Okay, does everybody see my screen there? I've got our corporate presentation up.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm getting better at this. Okay, there we go. Okay, so I wanted to go down to this screen right here. So, and I appreciate investors, they need to know where you stand. So look, this is the way we look at the LFP battery ecosystem in North America. This is the whole kit and caboodle, from the mine all the way to the production of, say, a vehicle or stationary energy storage unit, to the recycling. So, First Phosphate, really, we want to be here. We want to be in the extraction and the concentration. Put a mine into production, either at La Coloniale or Bégin-Lamarche, where we extract phosphate at between 5 and 8% grade in the ground. And then at the mine site, we concentrate that up to almost 41%. like I said, 97% pure apatite, almost 41% pure phosphate. And then here at the Port of Saguenay is where we would build the second facility, which is to convert that into purified phosphoric acid. And all the production off of that would be, easily consumed right away. I mean, our calculations say that if there was no more LFP coming from China, you would need 17 of these facilities in Saguenay by 2030 to fulfill needs in North America. And it could be up to 40 facilities by 2035, 2040. These are astronomical numbers. We're only planning to do one facility for PPA, proving it out, and then going from there. So that would be the PPA facility. Now, the next facility after that, say the third pillar, right? The first pillar being extraction and concentration. That's where we really want to be strong. Second pillar being, purified phosphoric acid, which we would do only together with Crayon, with proven technology. They invented purified phosphoric acid technology. They've been at it for 70 years. You use their technology, you know it's going to work. And then after that, we would look for another major partner to make the LFP cathode active material. We would not be very deeply involved in this, other than, a small percentage owner or just a provider of offtake of purified phosphoric acid and perhaps some of the iron components to this facility. And then after you made the LFP cathode active material, that's when it's passed on to the cell manufacturers. They put them in little pouches, then go into batteries, then the batteries go into cars, and then eventually, at the end of the life of the battery, it gets recycled. So that's how I answer that question. I hope that was sufficient.
John, that was excellent. I think that gave a great overview. And obviously for listeners here, there's no doubt would be potentially additional or follow-up questions to that. But again, we're really out of time. I'm just going to ask one more question here, John. It was brought up, and that would be support from Canada and the Quebec government financially. Do you see any funds coming from those directions?
Yeah, I do. We've had great support already from the government of Quebec, from Investissement Quebec, from Quebec institutions. There's currently a review process going on, and I think you'll see something, pretty good very shortly. Obviously, these things that take time, and it also is not something that gets announced until it's announced. So be patient. I know the capital markets want to know, hey, when are you going to get your money from Exim? When are you getting money from Quebec government? Like, I think the reason we have good relationships is we're understanding, we're patient, we try to be polite, we try to be diplomatic, and things take time. And you have to also understand that these entities, there's a lot of politics involved with them. There's a method of doing things, and you're most successful with them when you just kind of chill out, let them do their thing, work with them, be polite, and you get things done and have a good project plan. And that's what we're doing. So we're not here to push anybody. Capital markets also need to understand it's a process, right? And already we've accomplished a lot. We're very thankful for what we have, and we're just going to continue to work in the diligent fashion and polite, courteous fashion that we've worked up until now, and give people the breathing time that they need to make proper decisions.
Great. So thanks, John, and thanks everyone for attending. I think we've gone over certainly a few minutes more, but I think it was very valuable in terms of getting those responses, John. And final word over to you, John. And again, thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for everybody for this magnificent journey that we've been on. I mean, this company has been around only for almost 18 months. The progress has been incredible. Our team is exceptional. I get up every morning with a lot of drive because our team is just so positive. I know the backdrop of the financial markets is very difficult for a lot of people, including us. But we just push through it. Operationally, I mean, I'm so happy as to where we are as a team. Not only our internal team, but our external team. Those who have worked with us, those who work with us from the outside now, those who are suppliers, those who are employees, our partners, everything. It's just amazing. And thank you, everybody, for your support, and we just look forward to continuing to do this and fight the good fight every day. Thank you very much for your support.
Thank you.